nobody likes to be told what to do. Let's just call it that. And there's very important work, standards, national and international standards work that's going on in organizations like ISO, in organizations like PFA, SAE, national bodies like VDA and PFA and so forth. And so we felt like it was important to give some time during our session today to talk or to have presented sort of what's the landscape like in Europe, in regulatory bodies, in international bodies. And so we have two speakers today, Jean-Francois Huere, who is the convener of ISO SC31 WG6 and connectivity standards lead with ISO, and Philippe Favreau, who's a data access specialist from Renault Group. We're going to have actually three presentations. Philippe's going to start by giving a presentation around the landscape, the sort of the European landscape of regulations. And then Jean-Francois will be coming in virtually, fingers crossed virtually, and will present on the ISO work. And then Philippe will come back up and talk about the French body PFA and what they're thinking about with respect to regulation and standards. So I want to introduce Philippe. Please come on up. Thank you.
Like this? Okay. Hello, everybody. I'm very glad to be here for Renault Group. I'm Philippe Favreau. I'm in charge of standardization and regulation about data access, vehicle data access. Yes, the picture is a little bit old. It is a COVID lockdown effect with a long hair. And for the next 50 minutes with Jean-Francois, we will present different things. And I will start with a short overview regarding European regulatory for data access. And let's go. And here, yes, I will quit. It's much better for me. I will start with, on the right, by batteries and waste batteries. It is a regulation which asks some data regarding state of health of battery or lifetime battery. We have also a regulation at European, but also at UNICE level regarding OBFCM. OBFCM is onboard fuel consumption measurement. It's to obtain the real consumption of the car each year, and the evolution of this regulation will be a remote access or to over-the-air access to provide data to authorities. The next is a revision of the ITS directive. We have an amendment of this directive, and we have recently, 2 weeks ago, a new proposal from French presidency to amend the amendment of the ITS directive. That's it. It's the process on the road. We have also RTTI. RTTI is a real-time traffic information. When you drive on a motorway, sometimes you have a huge panel to inform you a problem on the road or something like that. It is a RTTI, in fact. It is a ITS service. And for finish, I keep the free. The free regulation or law. I will start with LOM. LOM is a French law, a French project. LOM means Loi d'orientation des mobilités, the Mobility Orientation Law. It looks like, in fact, in the French ITS directive. Yes, it's a specificity of France. Sorry for that. But the problem for us is the LOM is not aligned with ITS directive. In fact, it's a problem. We have to be in line in France and in Europe. And the last two huge or main regulation is the Data Act. Data Act is a horizontal regulation, not only for vehicle, for automotive, or trucks for all products, electronic products, which generate data by the use. It concerns a fridge, for example, a washing machine, but also a vehicle. We are currently analyzing this regulation, and now we have to propose amendment to European Council and European Parliament. It is a process for this. And the last, from DG Grow, Steve asked about this yesterday. It's a proposal for an amendment of type approval directive. A type approval is a directive which frame the homologation of the car. Homologation by laboratory to verify if the vehicle is in conformance with all regulation. And today, we have no text, of course. It's only a project writing in the working program for this year to DG Grow. And DG Grow has opened a public consultation. Everybody can respond to this public consultation, even you as a European citizen, for example. And this consultation is open until end of June, 21st of June. And each car manufacturer, each organization, PFA, for example, will answer to this consultation. Next slide is not in a good water. Here you have a scenario, a timeline scenario, and you can see between now until end of 2024, we have many regulation to respect regarding data access and generate a big work for us. Just a mention for Data Act. Keep in mind Data Act is not only for car, it's only for all electronic products. Maybe not for smartphone, tablet, and computer, personal computer. It's not really clear in the text, but everybody is concerned. Supplier, all. Not only physical product, also for services. A remark regarding ITS directive. In a previous text, we had some date, application date, but with the proposal of compromise by French presidency, the application date has been removed, in fact, and will be discussed later in other document, maybe implementing act or delegating act, don't know. And I come back, just one. And there is, of course, another regulation, a current regulation, essentially around CO2 and emission. You have also a regulation regarding repair and maintenance, RMI, repair and maintenance information, which include remote diagnosis by over the air. Yes. But essentially around energy and consumption, emission. It's also a big topic for car manufacturer. Then, it is a very short overview to let time to Jean-Francois to present the next topic, the ISO extended vehicle concept. And after we will finish with a PFA position. I don't know if Jean-Francois is online.
Here and see me maybe.
Hey, hello Jean-Francois.
Salut Philippe. Have I got the floor? Not yet?
Yeah. You have the floor. Okay. I don't know how to switch the slide. You take
yes,
the control?
I just have to manage something to see my presentation. I think I have to click somewhere. Yes, it works. Can you see me? Can you hear me clearly?
Yes, it's okay.
Okay, thank you. Good morning, Philippe. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I really regret not being a part of you in presence, but okay, I'm here virtually and I hope you can hear and see me clearly. Good morning. My name is Jean-Francois Huere, as Philippe introduced me. I'm the convener currently of the ISO group in charge of developing some standards about the connectivity for cars. And we have run quite a lot of work for years, and I'm today here to present what we have achieved and where we are. I would really love to sometimes in this presentation kick some open doors, because it would mean that extended vehicle is now famous, and I hope so. So if I click here, okay, today I will present you something that I presented last year to the GRVA. I'm sure that some of you know that it is the working party at UNSEE level in Geneva to put them this piece of information about how we should and how the OEMs are going to connect cars with the outside. So I will, as I said, maybe kick some open doors in the introduction about the context, and then go into details on what is extended vehicle exactly about, because sometimes it's maybe still necessary to clarify some sets of standards which are sometimes maybe confused. So what is the extended vehicle here, and why it is here? So you are aware, that's the reason you are here with Covisa. The connected vehicles are now very high potential for developing lots of new functions of services. Just some of them are, as shown, traffic information, connecting an electric car or over the air or with a link when charging. The mobility services is a very wide field of activities developing with a strong potential. Insurances, remote and repair maintenance. Remote and repair maintenance was the first use case at the origin of developing extended vehicle for some reasons. And on the right side of the slide, you can see that maybe sometime in the future, we will be able to sleep during the trip, and then the autonomous cars will be connected. So for these reasons, we can say now today that a car is not only a physical body with engine and some equipment in the cockpit, but now, even now, a car is now extended to some off-board devices which make the car able to provide more services, more efficiency, more connectivity. So functions for driving are the first reason to extend the car to the outside, which is basically today and will be extended in the future, supported by the OEM's backends, providing lots of information which are no longer embedded in the car. So the connected vehicle is now extended. But a very, very important concept, which is at the origin of the sets of standards I will go through, is that a car is not a single connected object, because a car is an object which can weigh about 1.5 tons with, I hope, long time living passengers on board, and also outside road users. And because of the speed and the mass and the risk of an accident, road safety, in general safety, is a very, very important topic, which make it the car very different compared to lots of other connected objects. I really insist on this idea because even today, lots of people tend to consider that a car is a connected object, but it is not. That's the reason we must be very, very careful and look for road safety, which includes cyber security, etc., to achieve road safety, actual road safety. And also a car is not a single object on the road with a driver and passengers. Connectivity involves lots of actors. The main one being the infrastructure managing system. Yes, the vehicle manufacturer, but also now more and more companies operating services. So this ecosystem now has to be considered as not a shared responsibility ecosystem, but a distributed responsibilities. It is very important because responsibility in the case of car and in the case of accidents with risks on people, life, for instance, it is important to really clarify the distribution of the responsibilities, and it is important essentially also in the future with the autonomous driving ecosystem. So back in the 2015 has been decided to launch in the ISO world some kind of definitions, principles, and methodologies to achieve a safe and secure connectivity in real life, in real field, to avoid accident in any situations. So what is the definition of the extended vehicle? It's an entity which is in accordance with the specifications of the vehicle manufacturer. It extends outside of the physical body boundaries, and it is important in the case of what Philippe mentioned before, which is the type approval process, where a car manufacturer puts on the table his responsibility to say and to check with the authorities, at least in Europe, that the car is compliant with all the regulations and then can be sold. So also the extended vehicle, outside of the vehicle, when it's a question of function to make it compliant with the specification, then also extended vehicle has to be type approved. So to ensure that the connectivity which develops and will develop more and more in the future, you must check that this connectivity won't jeopardize safety for people and goods. Also goods is important. Security, privacy, cyber security. Liability issues are very important, especially in the future with autonomous driving. Compliance, which I mentioned, the type approving system and process in Europe at least. And it is really important to be sure that even with new services and new connectivity, the specifications will be the same and compliant with the approving process all along the life of the vehicle. And also important is that all these functionalities and performance must be compliant with the spirit of fair and non-discriminatory competition. So a standardization program has been launched in 2015 to achieve all these performances. And then appeared the concept of extended vehicle. So extended vehicle is a set of standards I will show you later on, which define how you connect to the vehicle, depending on the use case you want to deploy. It can be services, can be remote diagnostic, repair and maintenance, etc. And has been defined in the set of standards of the extended vehicle within the ISO groups, 4 colors for different types of interfaces. The first one being the red, the onboard diagnostic, which is a wired connector embedded in the car. This is already an extended vehicle concept interface. The other important type of interfaces are the yellow ones, which are about the time-critical interfaces. We have the chance to have the experts here today with us, who is Philippe Favreau, who led the work within the ISO group about the time-critical functions included in the extended vehicle concept. I will go through that later on. Also are lots of various multimedia and other kind of interfaces which are in the gray color. And one is important to underline is the blue one, which is the web interface. It's the object of a series of standards which have been developed within the ISO group, working group 6. And this blue interface family is too often confused with the extended vehicle itself. But it's important to me at this moment to stress that extended vehicle is not only web interface type of interface. It's really an important type of interface, web, but it is not only that. So lots of people maybe today make a confusion between the blue extended vehicle interface, which is the web interface, and the others. So OBD is also an extended vehicle interface and the others. So this is the concept of extended vehicle, which has been able to develop these interfaces. And what is important to say is that the interface is decided under the responsibility of the OEM, because the OEM is the one who involves its own responsibility towards the authority by the type approval process. So the yellow ones are, sorry, yes. The yellow one is the time critical type of interfaces, lots of them being standardized with other maybe other standards than the ISO, but there is a standard in the ISO I will go through, which is defining the conditions to manage that in the extended vehicle. The onboard diagnostic, I'm pretty sure you all know this one, which was the first one, the connector to repair and maintenance. The blue one, which is the web interface, which should be maybe the most important in terms of percentage of use cases. And all the other ones are the gray ones, which can be, for instance, NFC, can be Bluetooth, can be the e-call, for instance, which is in the gray family, and interfaces for infotainment, lots of them, and development in the future. For instance, the first one is an OBD interfaces. And so this one is specific because it is wired. And it's a good example of what can be considered when defining a use case like OBD, so repair and maintenance. Then the car manufacturer proposes to choose a red interface, I mean the OBD, because it is wired and because this use case is in a workshop where the vehicle is stopped, the engine is not running, or anyway, it is controlled by an expert, a technician trained beside the vehicle, and there's no risks to remotely decide something in the vehicle which could be dangerous. So it has been decided to have such a type of connector and conditions to define one type of interface. It's important to understand that it has been decided because of the conditions of using the car in this type of use case. The other one is time critical. I think Philippe has mentioned, and maybe we'll go through later on, is all the cases where the ITSs are involved. And especially when talking about road safety, because when we talk about road safety, it's what we call real time, but it is not clear enough. It's time critical interface for situation where we need speed very fast reactions. And then in that case, we need very almost real-time reactions. And there's been a development of an ISO standard, the 23132 standard. Philippe Favreau was the leader of this group and has developed how we prioritize and define the situation where, in that case, maybe we should limit the volume of data which are exchanged at the strict necessary amount of data to achieve a real-time reaction of the car, and that must be designed by the OEM, considering the whole performance of the vehicle. This is the blue one, the most famous. This is not only extended vehicle, this is just an interface of the extended vehicle. And this very high potential, you are all aware of that, the web interface will be used in lots and lots of situations. So you have the back end of the car manufacturer, which is in the perimeter of the extended vehicle, and lots of means make you allow you to send and exchange data with the outside. It's important also to mention that exchanging data is not only reading, it can be writing data, but even in only reading request for data from the outside, the resources of the car must be checked before providing the data, so that you don't overload the whole electronic architecture of the car. So this is the reason why, depending on the use case, the OEM will be and are obliged to consider the use case and the situations, the live situations, to allow the exchange of data, even in a purely reading situation. And one example, but it's just one, but now that the electric vehicles are really growing in terms of volumes and functions, there has been an ISO set of standards to achieve a safe, secure communication when a car is charging on a station, and lots of criteria have been identified to allow having a secure communication between the station and the car, especially with the concept of authentication and authorization. And together with the charging function, you have also lots of possibilities to communicate through this wired situation. So the extended vehicle, now what it is? It is a set of standards which have been developed and now, for the most of them, published on the ISO portal to define how to connect in a safe and secure manner between the outside and the extended vehicle itself. It has been developed by International Organization for Standardization, the ISO, within the Technical Committee 22, which is in charge of road vehicles, and the Subcommittee 31 for data communication. And the Working Group 6 has developed from 2015, as I mentioned, a series of standards, the main one being the 277 series, -1, -2, and in the future, -3 and -4, and welcome Covisa to work with us, which are really the standards, the series of standards defining the methodology, defining the terms and definition, defining the conditions, responsibility, designing of the car. This is the most important standard, 277 series. This defines the extended vehicle conditions, responsibility, etc. The other ones, which is the 278 series, 4 series of them, are the web interface definition, which is a very technical set of standards defining the condition to exchange data through the web interface. And the ISO 280 standards, which has also been published, is an application of the web interface to the remote diagnostic functions. And the last is the developed working group Philippe was the leader of, 23132, which has been published. And this defines the definitions and the condition where we must apply certain conditions on time-critical applications. So as a conclusion, I hope I'm in the time slot which has been attributed to me. Extended vehicle is not only the web interface, it's a set of standards to define the conditions to exchange data between requesters, service providers, tiers 1, tiers 2, etc., with the car itself being considered as an extended car. And this should promote the fluidity of the vehicle data access in safe conditions to preserve life and in the road safety field. And this should, and I hope it will, increase the confidence of the customers, the drivers, the passengers to their connected car, which is not only a smartphone on wheels. And this should be, and it is an open principle service, which can allow the stakeholders to create services. And this should help to develop the connectivity of the car. And to conclude, really, the key words to me are road safety. Safety is basically road safety for goods and people. Security, which is a condition to achieve road safety. And in the middle of that, the responsibility is very important to be clear and clarified who is responsible of what in the connected car ecosystem. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jean-Francois. And let's continue with the next presentation. Thank you. Okay. I'm from Renault Group, but I'm a leader of the technical committee in PFA. PFA represents, in fact, automotive industry in France. PFA is an automotive filière platform. I don't know if it's correct in English. And we have worked to develop a technical position regarding vehicle data access. Okay, we have built this position with several companies for car manufacturer and trucks manufacturer, Stellantis, Renault Trucks. Renault Trucks, in fact, is a Volvo Group. And Renault Group, we have supplier, of course, Valeo, Michelin, Faurecia, Plastic Omnium. And we are also, FIEV is a federation which represents a French supplier, automotive French supplier. And we have published our position in 2021, beginning 2021. First of thing, we have decided to define the type of access of vehicle data. For us, it was important to have the common language, common vocabulary, like Covisa do for data format in VSS, for example. And we have defined 3 types of access. The first is local access. Local access means, in fact, to have access to data directly on the car. If I take the extended vehicle picture, could be a local access, could be a gray interface, red interface, and a yellow interface. We have defined also a remote access. It's a blue interface, if you want, through a backend server, OEM backend server. The third type of access, we call this direct access. Direct access, you have the definition we have created. In fact, direct access, it's access to data directly through electronic architecture of the vehicle without any supervision or verification from the car manufacturer. And of course, this kind of access it's really not recommended by PFA, of course. This kind of access, if you remember yesterday, the Graham picture shown by Graham, the red zone on the left of the green line, I don't know if you remember, it is a direct access when you access directly in the electronic architecture. Next point is we listen very often, even by DigiGrow, a predefined list of data or mandatory minimum set of data or something like that. At PFA, we think it's not really relevant to speak a list of data without speak about use cases or services, in fact, or API for the direct application on the backend server, for example. And here, for this point, we think Covisa and VSS could be a good candidate to help us to define or to be aligned with this. But it's still under discussion at PFA level because currently we have to manage many regulations and provide French position to our French authorities. And we are focused on regulation and not on the specific topic and data description. The next point is, yes, as inside, like Jean-Francois said previously, inside the extended vehicle concept, we have a kind of macro process to ask to car manufacturer to obtain data and functions. We have developed at ISO level a new part of the standard, the part 3. It's an upstream process. It's a more detailed process to when a service provider wants to access to data, to have a clear process to contact OEM and have some different step to exchange and to obtain data, in fact. And at PFA level, we have worked in the same way than ISO, and we have worked together, in fact. For information, Jean-Francois is also a member of CSTA 31 in PFA. We work together. And we have a project at ISO level, a common language, where VSS could be also used. But it's still also still under discussion. And the last one, during this work, not only to provide a white paper or a position paper, we have studied two use cases, a kind of proof of concept. The first one between Stellantis and Plastic Omnium, with the use case was AdBlue for NOx trap, NOx for emission, pollution, and services when your vehicle is close to a gas station and you need to fill your AdBlue tank, the service alert give an information to the driver to say, maybe you can refill your AdBlue because you are very close to a gas station, which provide this kind of product. Yes. And we are developing this, and it works by using ISO 20078 series by web services communication. And we have also make a study, a theoretical study between Renault and Michelin by using Android automotives, but by a lack of time, we have cannot develop in a car, but we have made the study directly, a theoretical study, and the conclusion is we can answer to all use cases by using web service interface, for example, or by directly inside the car, with Android Automotive, for example, or by combination of both, local and remote access. And the last point is a conclusion from, also from Jean-Francois, regarding the responsibility of the car manufacturer, which is responsible to define the right interface for the right use case. Here it's a very summary of our position, of course. You can access, if you want, to the full, complete position paper from PFA with a detail for each point at this address. You can contact me directly if you want. I can provide you the document, of course, in English, but in French if you want. We have also, if you want to improve your French, you can read also this position. And yeah, at the end of the document, we have some example. I look the time to have the time for question and answer. We have many examples, 10 cases, which show some examples for local access, distant access, or même the combination of local and remote accesses. Well, I think we have no time to describe in a detail for each point, but we have provided many examples to explain the difference between two and remote access, or the combination of both to access to data and function. And I have two last slides which detail a little bit use the proof of concept developed by Stellantis and Plastic Omnium. We can see here the flow of data, car to OEMs, to Stellantis backend server, extended vehicle web service interface, which communicate with Plastic Omnium backend server, make the services, the calculations, so on, and after provide information directly on the smartphone, for example, by replication, or by a feedback to the car, to the HMI of the car, to advise the driver. The picture is very little, but here you have the dashboard. I see if I lose the microphone. You have the dashboard of the off-board system of Plastic Omnium. It's a very small point. The green point is the gas station, in fact, and the red is the car. And when the car is really close to gas station, you have an alert on the car HMI. Here it's waiting, refill recommended. It's a very short message, but we can adapt, of course. Here it was just for the demonstration. And I think it's finished, yes. And thank you for your attention. And I think we have 10 minutes with Jean-Francois. Jean-Francois, I hope you're still here. Of course, I can answer to the question about extended vehicle because I participate also to all ISO meeting regarding extended vehicle, but I prefer to stay with me.
No problem. At your service.
Yes.
So, two questions perhaps. One, the extended vehicle did a lot in the past. Is it somehow compliant or compatible with our understanding of VSS?
Extended, you want to answer, Jean-Francois? Extended
no,
vehicle.
Please, I don't know if I'm far from you.
We have no concept of data format inside extended vehicle. Extended vehicle, we have just a family of interfaces. Sorry. We have defined a set of standards for web service interface because at the moment in 2017, I think, or 16, there was no standard, in fact, which defined the communication between two servers for car data, in fact. But we have no definition of data inside extended vehicle, not yet.
I don't know if you can hear me, Philippe, but I can maybe add that. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Oh, yes, sorry.
Yeah, full screen.
Yes, I'm sorry. No, just in addition, as maybe Philippe mentioned, that we are currently working in the ISO Working Group 6 on a new extension of the 277 series, which will be the 277-4, because, as Philippe mentioned, there is no standardization of data inside the vehicle. It won't never happen, but we are trying to achieve a work to help understanding data coming from various car manufacturers from the requester point of view. So there is, for instance, Covisa is welcome to join, and we're trying to elaborate a data model to help understanding even quite a slight different type of data format. So we are working on that, but so far the extended vehicle is really focused on responsibility, choosing the interface depending on the use case, etc. But so far no format, but VSS can be a great source of inspiration for us.
And we have now we have two members which participate, two members of Covisa which participate to this working group. We have Florian and me. Florian from Denso, yes?
Denso.
Daniel Rutger, Ford Research. First of all, thanks for sharing that very comprehensive overview regarding the regulation. I think we have all understood things are becoming more and more challenging also in that space. I've got a comment and a question. First of all, for Jean-Francois. You mentioned connected OBD use cases. There's perhaps one minor amendment worthwhile mentioning and could be relevant also to the VSS work, and that's the OBM requirement, onboard monitoring, right? Where the regulation hasn't been written yet, but we kind of get access here and there on what's going on in Brussels on this topic. And yeah, I think it will come, and it will also leverage connectivity or the connectivity capability of the vehicle, right?
Yes.
I haven't speak about OBM, but you're right. It exists many of regulation. I speak about OBFCM for ICE vehicle, but you have the similar thing for electric vehicle. It's not a fuel consumption, it's an energy consumption. And at a worldwide level, we have also many initiatives or regulation from China, from Russia, from US also. We have a specific thing in the Massachusetts law. For example, yes, it's a huge perimeter, in fact. But it's difficult to list all regulation, and after we have to discuss for each regulation. We will need a specific session for 1 week to discuss about regulation, just the regulation, and especially Data Act. Just a warning for Data Act. Data Act doesn't concern only vehicle manufacturers; it concerns everybody, supplier. Just to have in mind, if Renault buy a Ford car, Renault is the owner of the car. With Data Act, I can ask to Ford, to give me all data generated by your car, because I am the owner, for free. It is a Data Act. After, if I want to develop a service, I have to pay for, okay. But as a user, the owner, in fact, I can access to data generated by the car for free. Imagine for anything else. It could be another many things inside the Data Act, because inside this regulation you have an article which amend another regulation, database regulation, and it could be also a huge problem for everybody. but it's not the right place, I think, and we have no time
Yeah,
for
I
this.
think
But
we share the
I
concept.
can discuss about it if you want. But
I had a second question. Another element that I was perhaps kind of missing in the presentation was the mentioning of the Gaia X cloud initiative that the EU is driving. And I mean, for us as an automotive industry, it's particularly interesting because we are kind of joining the party a little later compared to other participants in the industry. And it's actually setting the direction on quite a few things and things we must not ignore in the European region. So I was a bit surprised not to see anything about Gaia X.
it's not a regulation topic. Gaia X is kind of sovereign European data space, but we have also from Germany, European data space or something like that. And you speak about Gaia X, but we have also Gaia X. It's the European cloud, something like that. You have also Catena X, which lists supply chain use cases. Not yet for the vehicle. In the future, maybe not yet. Or maybe the name of Covesa could be Covesa X, because it's a... yes. Well, to have a better reception in Europe, maybe, I don't know. Yes. There is also a third initiative with X at the end. It's a new initiative. I don't remember the name, but it is a fashion to put an X at the end of each word. It's okay for the time. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Jean-Francois.
Thank you. And feel free to contact me if you have another question regarding regulation or PFA or Jean-Francois for ISO.
Yep.
Thank you, Jean-Francois.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay.
Yes. Thank you, Covesa.